Hi, this isn't going to be a regular thing, but I thought it might be fun to do something a little bit different on this kind of video, you know, have a little bit of fun with something a little bit film adjacent, as it were, because I'm actually a bit of a popcorn fiend. I love popcorn, but I feel like I need to qualify that statement because in America, when you say popcorn, most Americans usually think of very, very salted popcorn that's suspiciously yellow in colour, and that's not what I'm thinking of. When I think of popcorn, I think of sweet popcorn, sugared popcorn, as opposed to salted. And that's generally the kind that I quite like. Of course, when I went to America the first time, I didn't realise that you don't really have a choice between sweet or salted like you do in the UK, for example. And generally in the UK, what the cinema style is normally dictated as being sweet. So if you go into a shop, you'll normally find cinema sweet popcorn, as opposed to America, where you normally have very, very salty popcorn. In fact, when I went to an AMC and got popcorn for the first time, I was like, man, that's salty. So there was that, and when I was last in America, I really had a hankering for popcorn, like you sometimes get. But of course it had to be sweet popcorn, which turned out to be a nightmare to try and find in America, that you really don't have that in America. The closest that you really have is kettle corn, which is sweet and salted, as it's known over here. And that's quite nice, I quite liked kettle corn. It took me ages to actually find it and try and work out what the heck it was, but hey, you know, live and learn. But anyway, what I mean to say about popcorn is that in terms of its popularity as just a general snack, it appears to be on the rise, particularly in the UK. The sales of potato chips, crisps, as they're known over here, have actually fallen, and popcorn has actually risen, and I think that is in large part because they're actually seen as being a lot more of a healthier alternative, and that's generally what the market placement for popcorn is these days. There's been a particular brand of popcorn that sells itself as being healthy popcorn. It's actually called skinny popcorn, and that's available in a whole bunch of different varieties. But also it's considered to be something increasingly more of a luxury item, and there have been a couple of gourmet-style popcorn flavours, particularly from a brand called Joe and Seth's, which has done a whole multitude of various different popcorn flavours, and they're usually sold in these little plastic pouches, and it's normally things like Marmite flavoured popcorn, strawberry shortcake, things like that, all sorts of different variations, and those are the very upmarket kind of popcorn. I haven't really tested those kind of popcorns. They've always had my curiosity, but I always think it's a little bit steep for that kind of thing. It really is a very small bag for what you get. It appears that the creators of Butterkist, I believe Tangerine Confectionery, have created a new brand. And I first became aware of it on this huge sign that was adjacent to the road of my local Asda that was promoting this new line, which is called Vi Popcorn. And this seems very much aimed at filling that particular gap in the market, catered towards people who quite like snacking on popcorn but want something a little bit more upmarket, and their press release seems to be geared towards people who want a healthy alternative to the usual sort of snacks. And they've done two flavours, coconut and cacao and strawberry, and these are very, very new actually. They've only come out in the last couple of weeks. At the minute, they're exclusive to Asda chains, so you won't see them in many other supermarkets, but they're going to expand upon later. There is a third flavour coming up, supposedly in the autumn, in September time, which I believe is Ancient Grains Sweet and Salted, and that sounds like it would be quite interesting. But of course, what really had my curiosity is the fact that these are quite unusual flavours. You don't normally see strawberry flavoured popcorn, and that seems almost exotic in its own way. So I was genuinely a little bit curious, and I decided, you know what, the heck with it, let's do a taste test video. I know I don't have my White Castle hat on, or I'm not filming in front of a brown sofa, but I think I might be able to handle it. So, as I drink water to, you know, properly cleanse the palate, let's bring on the first contender. And the one I'm putting on first, apologies to headphone users, is coconut and cacao, as I mentioned. The reason I'm doing this one first is because I'm not traditionally a fan of coconut flavoured items. I don't mind stuff like Bounty and things like that, but coconut, funnily enough, is just not a thing that I get along with very well, taste-wise. It's not because I'm allergic. That would be stupid. No, it's just because I just don't get along with coconut. And the funny thing is, I bought the strawberry flavour, but I didn't buy the coconut one at first. Which is a rather stupid decision, because I was already sort of mulling over this video when I did so. And when I decided that, okay, I am going to actually do a video on it, because it seems like it would be a fun thing to do, I went down to my local Asda, and they didn't have this particular flavour, because I saw them in the bigger Asda across town. So I actually had to go across to the other Asda to pick up this flavour, because my local one only had the strawberry flavour. Now, I'm aware that headphone users, there's a lot of rustly bags on, so, sorry, I'm just going to have to work my magic here. Abraca jump cut! Whew! Ooh! Learned that trick from Ashens. So there we go, nice bag of popcorn there. It's 142 calories per 30 gram serving. This may seem like I'm a weird thing that I'm highlighting here, but this does have a point to it. I'll get back to that later. So, opened it up. It does smell like a bag of popcorn. Now, both of these flavours have mixtures of honey in them. I can actually smell a little bit of the honey from opening the bag here. It does smell like you would expect popcorn to taste, but like popcorn to smell even. But yeah, you can definitely smell the honey element to it. So it's quite nice on the inside. They got almost little golden colour to them, as you can see here. Nice little golden colour. Cocoa is normally the sort of baked version of cacao, and cacao is the more raw form of it that has more of the bean's natural qualities, and generally is considered to be a bit better for you than cocoa in its own way. Because of those properties, it's considered to be a healthier option, hence this particular line is aimed at consumers that want a healthier alternative, hence the cacao. So, actually, let's try and get a bit... there we go. That one has a bit more cacao on it. That one is a lot more obviously covered in cacao. But generally you can see the very strong flavour there. It's got a lot of clusters on it. And, you know, it's popcorn, essentially. So let's do one. That's quite pleasant. I'm getting the coconut now. Sorry. I was raised to not open my mouth when I chew, so I have a bit of a problem with talking in a video whilst eating simultaneously. And, yeah, the honey was definitely the first thing I tasted. It took a little bit longer for the coconut to come in. The cacao was quite nice and pleasant. I actually got that hit first. I think that was probably because there was quite a lot of it on that particular one. But, see, the popcorn and the coconut, they actually complement each other quite well. I was worried that it was going to have a really overpowering coconut taste, but actually the coconut is quite pleasant. It actually plays quite well with the popcorn. You know what? Let's do a big old handful. It's got about 4 there. Yeah, when you have a handful, you got a lot more of the coconut taste in there. But that is rather Moorish. That is quite nice, and that bodes well because this was obviously the flavour that I was most sceptical about. But it's got that nice hint of cacao. It blends very well with the honey, and the coconut flavour actually works quite well with the popcorn. So generally, it's quite satisfying on that level. I could definitely eat a bag of this, which was, again, the concern that I had when I was buying this was like, well, I'd be actually able to finish a bag of coconut popcorn, but I could. And that's good news, because the one that I was most looking forward to was the strawberry one, because I'm a big fan of strawberry related stuff, but you have to excuse me a minute because I need to wash out the other bits of popcorn stuck in my teeth. So that's nice. It's actually got quite a nice biscuity kind of flavour to my tongue, at least, you know, I do have some weird taste buds, so maybe that's just me, but it does have that kind of nice flavour to it, and it just works, it works quite well together, so that is a good thing, because if that's the flavour that I was least positive towards, then I can only imagine what my feelings will be with the strawberry flavour. Now, this one actually has a lower calorie count, as you can see from the front there. It's 125 per 30 gram serving. And again, this is with a hint of honey, because they use that to bond them together. Okay, and sorry. Oh, I popped the bag there. There we go. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, so as you can see on the inside of the bag there, there's a lot of strawberry pieces there. Actually, a lot more obvious than the cacao. Hopefully you saw that at home. I'll just do that again. Yeah, it kind of looks like there's been a bit of a bloody murder in there, because there's so much red. Yeah, that's a good example. You can actually see a lot of the strawberry pieces on there very obviously. This looks more like a traditional popcorn piece than the coconut one. It actually does look a lot more like a traditional sort of popcorn, but with a couple of bits of strawberry stuck on. I don't know what I was expecting, but I'm pretty sure that was about what I was expecting it to be. I don't know whether I expected it to be smaller or not, but it matches the picture on the front quite well. It's maybe a bit less yellow. I don't know if there's much more to say about these other than down the hatch. Okay, that's a quite strong strawberry flavour. I should have expected that. They were quite large chunks. So yeah, these are very, very strawberry. They actually overpower the honey somewhat, in that this actually might be a fairer one, because this has less, as it were. It's not huge chunks, it's more evenly spread, so maybe this one would be a fairer one to... Alright. Okay, so I'll just try the second one. It still has that strawberry flavour, but it tastes a little bit more baked. It has that more popcorn kind of flavouring to it. I'd imagine this is their sort of version of sweet popcorn, as it were. But no, this is quite nice. I'm going to do the handful test again. Get about 3 there, I'd say. Woohoo! Don't escape on me, popcorn. But as you can probably tell from my stupid smiling face, I quite like these, but I don't know whether I think the coconut ones might actually work in a larger quantity if you want to have more of them, whereas I think this is very, very sweet. I think it might be a little bit overpowering as a sort of continued thing, but obviously you're supposed to be only having 30 gram servings. I'm not sure how many people adhere to that, but if there's a point of comparison, it does actually taste a lot like strawberry jam. You know, how strawberry jam tastes a little bit different to how actual sort of sliced strawberries, you know, having that together. So it does have that taste of sort of, if you have like strawberry jam on toast or something like that, it does have that sort of quality to the sort of texture and taste, which is, I quite like that as a popcorn. It's definitely interesting. I was worried that there wasn't going to be a lot of flavour in these, but actually they do have a lot of characteristics of popcorn, because with popcorn it's always difficult to assess whether it's going to be really sweet or really salted, but this is the flavourings on here are definitely quite strong, which is a good thing, because obviously you're selling these on the flavourings, and no, it works really well. The bonus round is Choc-Mallow, so chocolate mushroom. Chocolate mushroom? Chocolate marshmallow? I would like to see them try chocolate mushroom. It would be a bold taste for them to try on popcorn, I do have to admit, but chocolate marshmallow does seem to make a lot more sense. Now, here's where things get a little bit interesting, because you'll remember that I was pointing out the calorie counts, and that's not because I'm being pedantic here. The Vibe popcorn range was sold on the fact that they're the healthy alternative. How many calories does this have in a 30-gram serving? 126. That's interesting because this is a lot more of a chocolatey based variant. So actually, if we compare, this has one more calorie than the strawberry one, and it is actually a considerably healthier option than the coconut one by quite some margin. Bit of a thing there. I mean, it's only maybe about 15 calories, but it's still interesting, I thought, considering that this was, you know, right on the same aisle. I could pretty much, that was the first thing I saw. I was like, oh, that's quite high in comparison. But yes, this is the Choc-Mallow flavour. For some reason my brain really has mushrooms on the brain, don't know why. This is a little bit older. This was launched, I believe, late last year, but this had apparently escaped my attention until then. And again, it's actually very similar in a lot of ways. Of course, if you didn't know that they were by the same company, the fact that the things on the back here are exactly the same as on, yeah, they're exactly the same on both packets there. The sort of pointing out that it's vegetarian friendly and gluten free and a source of fibre and all that jazz. That should have been a hint. But so this is another flavour, and so I am curious to see what this is going to be like. I mean, this is very much not geared towards the people that want a healthy alternative to popcorn. This is very much geared towards people that want it smothered in chocolate right now. And sometimes you get those urges. Okay, so let me think of something. Pop! Oh, did it with my mind there. And not stealthy editing tricks. Okay, so as you can tell, because this is very chocolatey, there's a lot of brown in there. I probably could have phrased that a little bit better, but you get what I mean. It's very chocolatey. I would be very surprised if it wasn't very chocolatey considering the flavouring. And yeah, it smells very much like chocolate and marshmallow. And I should mention the strawberry one. I don't think I mentioned that. That one had an obvious strawberry flavour to it, but yeah, that's quite nice. That's very much what you would expect. It's a bit rocky road, as it were, and so these are quite. I used to have a couple of chocolate popcorns back in the day, but it usually was quite literally popcorn slathered in chocolate. I've noticed that there is some strawberry stuck to my finger. I will try and get that off, lest it affect this very scientific experiment. But yeah, as you can tell, this has got a fairly heavy glaze of chocolate on it, and yeah, this looks quite nice. Oh, okay. Okay. The marshmallow is very prominent in this. That as soon as that touched my tongue, I was like, oh wow, the marshmallow is super prominent here, and that wasn't what I expected. I was expecting the chocolate to be, which is interesting. If you were to blindfold me and I couldn't actually see the texture or colour of these, and you just popped it in my mouth, I would have said marshmallow, but I wouldn't have immediately said chocolate, which is interesting. There's definitely a little bit in the back end, but marshmallow is definitely the presiding flavour here, and it's quite a strong flavour. Less so on this one. This one's a bit more popcorny. Again, it's sort of the sort of amount of flavour you get tends to fluctuate depending on what sort of kernel you have. So some are less drizzled than others, as you might have noted. I'd actually say there's a bit less consistency in flavouring in these Butterkiss ones than there are in the Vibe ones. I think that might be because they don't have the honey in them, the sort of glazing of honey around it. I think those give them a lot more consistency in terms of how much flavouring you get. Although I think that's more sort of like the glue, as it were. The strawberry element, I think, overpowered the actual honey part of it, but it was quite nice. I sound like I'm being more negative on the strawberry. I think it's because I had slightly more expectations, as much as you can have expectations for snacky popcorn. Let's do a little handful here. A little bit of a habit. Yeah, definitely chocolate marshmallow. That's pretty much what it is. But again, I was wondering how much of the popcorn you would taste. You get a little bit of it. It mostly is in terms of the feel and texture, obviously, because obviously popcorn by itself doesn't have a huge amount of taste. It's normally dependent on the seasoning on it. But no, this is quite nice. This is if you were, say, particularly peckish for something chocolatey related, but didn't want to completely splurge on something like a chocolate bar, you could make excuses for this. And the fact that it has less of a calorie count than the coconut flavour might also help your case. But of course, we all know what you've really been waiting for. What happens when you cross the streams, as it were? So, this is going to be interesting. Let's get all three together and let's see which flavour is actually more the dominant one. If we get 2 pieces of each, so we got 2 coconut, 2 marshmallow, and 2 strawberry. I don't know whether this is a terrible idea or not. Let's not think about it too much. Actually, let's cleanse the palate. Obviously, I have a little bit of a chocolate marshmallow bias at the minute. Okay, and okay, that's quite funny. The strawberry ones actually weren't actually that prominent there. I would actually say that chocolate marshmallow was the strongest out of the 3, and there was definitely a hint of the sort of coconut and honey flavouring. Those sort of worked together much more than the strawberry one. I think they overpowered the rest of it. But I would definitely say that the chocolate marshmallow was the strongest flavouring out of the 3 there. And yeah, so I hope this has been a fun video. This is me purely mucking about here, but if you're interested in these as a fun little novelty item, then go nuts, I think, because you might find something to enjoy about them, especially if you're a big fan of strawberry or strawberry jam. This might be right up your alley. Incidentally, I'll be very interested if anyone wants to try mixing popcorn in strawberry jam and seeing what that tastes like. I'd imagine it'd be very sticky. But if you want to try any 3 of these flavours with your with whatever movie you're watching or whatever you're doing, or maybe you just feel like just snacking away emptily for some reason, these are good bets. These are quite nice. They have a strong flavour to them. If you're not a fan of popcorn traditionally, they might sway you a little bit. So these are quite fun. I'm not sure if they could replace sweet popcorn. I think I definitely have a sentimental edge towards that sort of thing because it's what I grew up with. But these are fun. These are nice. It's nice to have a bit more variation, as it were, as opposed to those three main flavours. And I know there's a lot of other brands that do other flavours. I actually saw another one that had things like a apple pie. Maybe that could be done for a follow-up. I don't know. I'd be interested to see what you think of this video. Hopefully it's been entertaining, and tell me what you like to have popcorn with, what you like to eat popcorn with, or whether you're not a fan of popcorn. I'd be interested in your opinions in popcorn. I'm going to stop saying the word popcorn. Bye!